So school reopens, you move back, then it shuts down. What happens now? I'm Maya with NBC News. I'll tell you about that. When schools reopened for the fall semester, students had no choice but to gamble with their futures. The stakes were high, but thousands of college students placed their bets on in-person classes, only to watch things fall apart quickly as schools gave in to COVID-19 outbreaks, and students were left to pay the price.
Well, when I was there, my family didn't have to worry about paying for my food, paying for the amount of electricity I use and stuff, like utilities and stuff.
Ida, a low-income student, chose to leave campus after UNC moved classes online after 2 weeks of in-person instruction. She says UNC gave her financial aid to get by, but slashed the original amount by more than 60%.
They just reduced it to $1,500. They just sent me an email saying it's been revised and no explanation as to why it was.
Now that school's online, Hannah, a junior at UNC, is stuck in a lease she no longer needs.
I would have stayed home definitely, but now it's kind of too late, so there's no way for me to sublease my apartment, so my only option kind of is to just be here.
And because of the way CARES Act funding was allocated, Hannah says her financial aid was cut by more than 50%.
I had planned to use it for rent and utilities and other apartment expenses, but now I don't have enough to do that, and it actually only covered less than 2 months of rent.
For some low-income students, the pandemic means putting education on hold. Like Job, a part-time student at the University of Maryland whose work hours were cut back.
I didn't have any funds to pay for the classes, so I ended up defaulting. I have to put my academics aside for the time being. I have to focus on getting some money to not only pay off this semester that I owe, but also the oncoming semesters. So I'm gonna have to work twice as hard.
Some students at the University of Maryland College Park say they weren't even given the option to opt out of their leases.
I signed this lease back in February before any of us knew how severe COVID-19 would be. Now they've changed the terms of this lease without us being able to sign off on it, and holding us to these $1,000 leases for high-risk housing that we can't back out of anymore.
Now Samin and more than 100 other students have hired a lawyer for legal defense against the management company and school.
Personally, I pay for both housing and tuition for myself. This is usually when we start looking for internships and full-time jobs, which will allow us to pay for all of this. Yet we're having to be consumed with this situation.
I'm feeling a little bit of anxiety as to whether or not we will get sent home.
Marina, a student in Dallas, is putting herself through college and relies on her on-campus job for money. And she's worried that could go away.
I would be able to afford this semester of college, but the next semester of college I would probably have to take out more loans. Very stressful to know that everything is so fragile as it is.
With so many things up in the air, students are worried about how this could affect their lives after college.
We're risking our credit by not paying for these rooms right now.
I'm feeling a little bit of anxiety as to whether or not we will get sent home.
Marina, a student in Dallas, is putting herself through college and relies on her on-campus job for money. And she's worried that could go away.
I would be able to afford this semester of college, but the next semester of college I would probably have to take out more loans. Very stressful to know that everything is so fragile as it is.
With so many things up in the air, students are worried about how this could affect their lives after college.
We're risking our credit by not paying for these rooms right now. And what can happen if this goes into collection? It could mean that we're going to have trouble being able to ever get a house or ever get to rent an apartment. It's incredibly frustrating. We're already having to spend our time and energy trying to stay safe.
How is your school handling the fall semester? We want to hear from you. Snap us a video at StayTuned and we'll look into it.